There is a silence that hangs in the air right before the dawn breaks, a heavy, pregnant silence. It is in this precise moment, before the rest of the world begins its chaotic scream, that the war for your life is won or lost. Every morning you are presented with a choice. You can continue to sleep with your dreams, or you can wake up and chase them. Think about that for a moment. Every single morning you make a decision that sets the tone for your entire day. Your alarm shatters the stillness, and right there, in that split second, you are faced with the most defining decision of your existence. It seems small, it seems trivial, but do not be fooled. This is the battlefield. Most people, they lose this battle before they even take their first breath of the day. They hit snooze, they roll over, they tell themselves that 5 more minutes won't hurt, that they will still have time. They bargain with their own potential, but those 5 minutes are a lie. They are a surrender. When you hit that button, you are telling the universe, you are telling your God, and worst of all, you are telling your own subconscious mind that your comfort is more important than your calling. You are choosing to sleep with your dreams rather than waking up to chase them. You are letting the day happen to you instead of happening to the day. That is not just a habit, that is a mindset of delay and avoidance. That mindset, if left unchecked, becomes the very thing that keeps you stuck in the same cycle day after day. I know waking up early is not easy. The warmth of your bed, the softness of your pillow, the quiet pull of sleep, all of it calls to you in those early moments. It tempts you to stay, to close your eyes just a little longer, to delay the discomfort of rising. But you have to understand something about the people who win in life. The people who win in life are not the ones who sleep the most. They are the ones who use their time the best. They do not make decisions based on what is comfortable. They do not give in to temporary ease at the expense of long-term growth. They wake up early not because it feels good in the moment, but because it puts them ahead. Listen to me very closely. I want you to picture looking at the clock and it says 2:45 a.m. You have an agreement with yourself that you get up at 3 a.m. Technically, you have 15 more minutes. The average person inside of you says to just pull the covers back over you. It's okay, you have 15 minutes. But the phenomenal version of you knows the truth. If you go back to sleep for those 15 minutes, there is no guarantee you are going to get up at 3. Why? You might wake up and it's 4s or 5s or 6. Are those 15 sweet minutes of sleep really worth pushing back your dream? Are they worth pushing back your goal, pushing back everything you have ever wanted? Those 15 minutes are not worth the rest of your life. They are not worth you slipping down the chart. Because if you wake up at 3:30, some other kid is getting up at 3 here, and he's got 30 minutes on you today. You have to stop waiting to feel like it. Stop waiting for the conditions to be perfect, because they are never going to be perfect. Stop waiting for somebody to come and save you. Yeah, nobody is coming to rescue you. You are going to have to wake up and make a decision to get it done. The problem with many of you is that you're not tired enough of where you are. The moment you are no longer willing to tolerate where you are, everything changes. As long as you are average, you are going to get what average people get. But I know you do not want to be average. Everybody wants to make their dreams become a reality. There is no one sitting here who wants to procrastinate. No one who doesn't want to get to the next level. You not only want your dreams to become a reality, you deserve for your dreams to become a reality. But you must ask yourself, what are you going to do with what you have? Everything you have is by the grace of God. It is a gift. I am not talking about how much money you have. I am talking about your talents. We all have different talents. Some will be doctors, some lawyers, some scientists, some educators, some nurses. But it is what you do with what you have that matters. That true desire in your heart, that itch that you have to do something to help others, to grow. That desire is God's proof to you, sent beforehand already to indicate that it is yours. Anything you want, you can have, so claim it and work hard to get it. But understand this brutal reality. Dreams without goals are just dreams, and they ultimately fuel disappointment. You need to have dreams, but you must have goals. Life goals, yearly goals, monthly goals, and daily goals. And to achieve these goals, you must apply discipline and consistency. Without commitment, you will never start, but without consistency, you will never finish. It is not easy. Ease is a greater threat to progress than hardship. You have to get out there and give it everything you've got, whether it is your time, your talent, or your treasures. You will never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. You cannot take it with you. The Egyptians tried it and they got robbed. It is not how much you have, it's what you do with what you have, with what you. So you cannot be afraid to take risks. You cannot be afraid to fail big and dream big. Remember, Reggie Jackson struck out 2,600 times in his career, the most in the history of baseball, but you don't hear about the strikeouts. People remember the home runs. Thomas Edison conducted 1,000 failed experiments, but the 1,001st was the light bulb. Every failed experiment is one step closer to success. People will tell you to make sure you have something to fall back on, but if I am going to fall, I don't want to fall back on anything. I want to fall forward. At least this way I will see what I am going to hit. Keep striving, never give up. Fall down 7 times, get up 8. You see, the morning is not just a time of day. It is the foundation of your destiny. Every great structure stands on a foundation, and if you build your life on a foundation of laziness, procrastination, and just 5 more minutes, do not be surprised when the walls come crumbling down when the storms of life hit. And the storms will hit. You need to stop waking up like it's an accident and start waking up like it's a mission. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher, king, and ruler of Rome, struggled with this too. He wrote in his journals, asking himself why he should cling to the blankets when he was born to do the work of a human being. He had to remind himself that he wasn't created to stay warm and comfortable. He was created to build, to lead, and to serve. You must realize that waking up is a gift that was denied to thousands of people who didn't make it through the night. Someone took their last breath while you were sleeping. Someone's heart stopped beating while yours kept rhythm. And yet you have the audacity to complain. You have the audacity to be bored, to be tired. We live at the intersection of 2 imaginary worlds, the past and the future. The past is a ghost. It's gone. It is a story you keep telling yourself. I'm not a morning person, I'm lazy, I always quit. Those are lies from yesterday. You are not your past mistakes. You are not your trauma. You are right now. You are one decision away from a totally different life. One decision to get up, one decision to do the hard thing first. Imagine your life as a book, and you are the author. Every morning is a blank page. Are you going to let your fatigue write the chapter? Are you going to let your fear hold the pen? Or are you going to grab that pen with a firm hand and write a story of triumph? A story of discipline, a story of someone who refused to stay down. There is a story about a massive elephant at a circus tied to a small wooden stake with a flimsy rope. The elephant could easily snap the rope and walk away, but it doesn't. Why? Because when it was a baby, it was tied with the same rope. And back then, it wasn't strong enough to break free. It tried and failed, so it learned helplessness. It accepted the lie that it was trapped. You are that elephant. The rope is your past. The rope is your excuse. The rope is, I'm not a morning person. But you have grown. You are stronger now. You have greatness within you that you haven't even tapped into yet. All you have to do is wake up and realize that the rope is a lie. You can snap it. You can walk away from the person you used to be, but you have to make that decision every single morning. Listen to me. There are ghosts around your bed right now. Imagine you are on your deathbed. Your breath is shallow and your time is up. Standing around your bed are the ghosts of the ideas, the dreams, the abilities, and the talents given to you by life. The ghosts of the ideas you never acted on, the talents you never used, the dreams you were too scared to chase. You never pursued them because you were too scared, too lazy, or too busy trying to fit in. They are standing there, watching you sleep, waiting to see if today is the day you finally wake up. They are angry, they are disappointed. They look at you with large, angry eyes and they say, we came to you and only you could have given us life, and now we must die with you forever. Do you want that to be your story? Do you want to die with your music still inside you? Or do you want to arrive at the grave used up, worn out, having given everything you had to this life? Do not let your dreams die in the comfort of your sheets. The hours between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. are the most powerful hours of the day. It is the time when the world is silent, your mind is sharp, and your distractions are minimal. At 5 a.m., the noise of the city is gone, the distractions are sleeping, and your mind is at peace. That silence is not emptiness, it is power. It is the time when your thoughts are pure, your focus is sharp, and your creativity is alive. Success is not built during the day when everyone is busy, it is built in the early hours when everyone is sleeping. When you wake up at 5 a.m., you are not just waking up early, you are waking up with purpose, clarity, and control over your life. Most people start their day reacting to the world. They wake up late, they rush, they complain about not having enough time. But time is equal for everyone. You, me, and the most successful person in the world, we all get 24 hours. The difference is how we use those hours. If you start your day with chaos, you live your life with confusion. If you start your day with purpose, you live your life with direction. When you master your morning, you master your life. Your body is going to fight you. Your body wants to hibernate. It wants the path of least resistance. Science calls it sleep inertia, that heavy, groggy feeling where your cognition is reduced, your alertness is dampened, and your desire to return to the void is overwhelming. It is a biological fact that your brain does not simply snap into high gear. The prefrontal cortex, the seat of your decision-making and willpower, takes time to come online. But here is where the warrior distinguishes himself from the coward. The coward feels that fog and thinks, I am tired, I need more rest. The warrior feels that fog and recognizes it as the first weight to be lifted, the first resistance to be broken. You must realize that this grogginess is not a signal to stop. It is the friction of re-entering reality. You cannot think your way out of it, you must move your way out of it. When your body stays heavy and stagnant in those sheets, your mind absorbs that sluggishness. Lethargy in the limbs becomes lethargy in the soul. You need to shock the system. The moment your alarm rings, sit up, put your feet on the floor, and take a deep breath. Do something that forces you to be physically active, whether it is stretching, taking a walk, or simply splashing cold water on your face. You must generate energy because energy is not given to you. It is created by you. When you move your body, your energy rises, your mind becomes alert, and you remind yourself that you are alive. You are not just waking up your body, you are waking up your potential. You will face resistance. Your brain is wired for comfort and seeks the path of least resistance. This is why your first instinct is to hit snooze at 4 a.m. It is not laziness, it is simply your brain trying to protect you from discomfort. But growth only happens when you push past this resistance. If you give in, you stay in the same place. If you push through, you build discipline. And discipline is what separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. One powerful strategy to eliminate this morning resistance is the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins. The moment your alarm rings, count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and immediately get out of bed. Do not think, do not hesitate. Do not give yourself time to make excuses. The longer you wait, the more your brain will try to talk you out of it. Action beats hesitation every time. Dr. Andrew Huberman explains that it takes about 3 days of pain to shift the biological mechanisms to make you a morning person. 3 days of pain, and the rest is easy. To shift your circadian clock, you need to stack the timekeepers or zeitgebers. The number one way to shift your clock is to view bright light at a time when you want to be awake. You get outside and look toward the sun. The second most powerful timekeeper is exercise or movement. If you do some jumping jacks or take a walk while facing the sun, you are stacking these mechanisms. You can add caffeine and social interaction to further align your internal clock. If you set your alarm for 5 a.m. tomorrow, no matter what time you went to sleep, and you execute this, it is going to hurt. By early afternoon, you will be dragging, but by the third day, your circadian clock will have phase advanced, and you ought to be waking up with or before the alarm. So the biology can be hacked, but the spirit must be willing. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable. Comfort is the enemy of growth. It is the soil where dreams go to die. If you want to build a mind that can withstand the pressure of life, you have to introduce it to resistance early. You have to train your brain that you are in charge, not your feelings. Motivation is garbage. It is a feeling that comes and goes like the wind. Motivation is fleeting, but discipline is reliable. Discipline is what stays when the excitement fades. When you do the hard thing first thing in the morning, not because you want to, but because you said you would, you are building a reputation with yourself. You are proving to yourself that you are a person of your word, and that self-trust is the most powerful currency you can own. But understand this, simply waking up early is not enough. You can wake up at 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. every day, but if you waste those golden hours on meaningless distractions, you are no better off than someone who slept in. Getting out of that bed is just the opening move. The real question is, what are you going to do when you have the silence all to yourself? What happens when the mind is awake, the body is primed, and the drawbridge to your mind is still pulled up against the chaos of the world? You have breached the fortress of sleep, but the true battle for your legacy is only just beginning. The moment you step foot onto the floor, the modern world is already setting a trap for you. Most people commit spiritual suicide before 8 o'clock in the morning. They wake up, they clear the sleep from their eyes, and the very first thing they do is reach for that glowing rectangular box beside their bed. They open the gates of their mind and willingly pull the Trojan horse inside the walls of their castle. They start scrolling, they check the news, they look at their emails, and they look at the curated fake perfection of other people's lives, and in doing so, they hand over the keys to their own kingdom to complete strangers. They are letting the demands of their boss, the fear of the economy, and the algorithms of social media dictate their emotional state before they have even taken a single moment to define it for themselves. You cannot build a legendary life if you are constantly defending your walls against incoming arrows. You have to keep the drawbridge up. You need to protect your peace with a ferocity that actually scares the people around you. That golden hour of the early morning is yours. It does not belong to the internet, and it does not belong to the news cycle. It belongs entirely to the construction of your character. If you start your day reacting to a text message or a headline, you are going to live your entire life in reaction, blowing around endlessly like a leaf in the wind of other people's agendas. You must step into solitude instead. We live in a world overflowing with noise, where finding just a few moments of absolute peace has become an incredibly rare gift. Solitude in the morning isn't just about being physically alone. It is about carving out the space to think clearly, to breathe deeply, and to check in with your own soul before the noise of the world drowns it out. When you rise before the rest of the world, you step into a profound clarity where your focus is pure and you can actually hear yourself again. Albert Einstein understood this, taking long, quiet morning walks to let his thoughts roam freely, recognizing that the monotony and solitude of a quiet life stimulate the creative mind. Leonardo da Vinci knew it too, realizing that if you are accompanied by even one companion, you belong only half to yourself. But if you are alone, you belong entirely to yourself. In those early hours, you belong to no one else. It is the time to ask the questions that truly matter. What do you want? What are your priorities? And where are you actually going? Loneliness is a lack of connection, but solitude is a source of immense strength and a tool for growth. It was in the absolute silence of the early morning that Kobe Bryant, long before anyone else was awake, found his quiet edge in the gym, visualizing success and connecting to a purpose that could not be shaken by distraction. Silence is where growth begins, where you face your fears, your doubts, and your biggest dreams. But standing in that silence can be terrifying if you do not arm yourself properly. This brings us to the most misunderstood tool in your entire arsenal: gratitude. I am not talking about a soft, passive greeting card version of gratitude. I am talking about gratitude as a weapon of mass reconstruction. The human mind has a negativity bias. It is biologically wired to look for threats, to look for lack, and to obsess over what is missing. If you do not actively intervene, your default setting will always be to scan your life for problems. Gratitude is the manual override. When you take a few minutes in the dark of the morning to aggressively hunt for the good, the fact that your lungs are expanding, the fact that you have a vision, the fact that you survive to fight another day, you literally change the chemical composition of your brain. It is physiologically impossible to be fearful and grateful at the exact same time. When you anchor yourself in gratitude, you shift your frequency from a state of scarcity to a state of absolute abundance. You shift your internal dialogue from "I have to go to work" to "I get to go build my legacy." You shift from "I have to deal with these problems" to "I get to solve these challenges because I am capable." One mindset is a prison and the other is pure power. You have to stand in that mirror and become your own commander, speaking life into yourself by saying, "I am enough. I am strong. I am prepared. I am the creator of my world." This isn't arrogance. This is instruction. You are giving your mind its marching orders for the day. Once the spirit is centered and the mind is armored, you must sharpen the intellect by engaging in what the masters call deep work. The entire world is currently addicted to the shallow. People are skimming the surface of their lives, multitasking and bouncing from one notification to the next like a pinball. But the true treasures of this life, the breakthroughs, the masterpieces, and the legacy-defining achievements are only found in the deep. Deep work is that state of peak concentration where you push your cognitive capabilities to their absolute limit, learning hard things quickly and producing work that is simply too good to be ignored. But to access this, you must treat your focus like it is the most valuable currency on earth, because it is. If you are checking your phone every 20 minutes, you are not working. You are just being busy and leaving a residue of your attention everywhere, operating at a fraction of your potential. You need to block out that time, whether it is 60 minutes or 90 minutes, and in that time you become untouchable. You become a monk in the temple of your craft. You do not just drift through tasks, you set a target. A sniper doesn't just shoot bullets into the sky hoping to hit something, they aim. You must ask yourself, what is the one single thing you must accomplish today to make the day a victory? And then you attack it with everything you have. You do the hardest thing first. You eat the frog, and you rely on the system you have built rather than waiting for a fair weather friend like motivation. And as you do this deep work, you must simultaneously prepare your mind for the chaos that is waiting for you outside your door. The ancient Stoics practiced something called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. It sounds dark, but it is actually the most empowering and optimistic thing you can do. Before you step out into the world, you visualize the challenges. You tell yourself that today you might meet an ungrateful person, you might hit a terrible traffic jam, the technology might fail and you might get rejected. You do not do this to worry, you do this to rehearse your response so that when the chaos hits, you do not panic. You can look at the adversity and say, I was expecting you and I am ready for you. You strip the external world of its power to surprise or hurt you, realizing that while you cannot control the weather, the economy, or the opinions of other people, you have absolute, total, God-given command over your own mind. This dichotomy of control makes you incredibly dangerous. Not dangerous to others, but dangerous to your own excuses and limitations. While everyone else is losing their minds because things didn't go their way, you remain calm, centered, and already moving to the next solution. You embrace amore fati, a love of fate, accepting whatever the day brings and using it as fuel for your fire. But to truly utilize this armor, you have to be willing to step out into the unknown and take massive risks. You cannot be afraid to fail big and dream big. People will constantly tell you to make sure you have something to fall back on, but having something to fall back on makes no sense if you are striving for greatness. If you are going to fall, do not fall back on anything except your faith. You must fall forward. At least if you fall forward, you will see exactly what you are going to hit. Think about Reggie Jackson. He struck out 2,600 times in his career, the most in the history of baseball, but people do not hear about the strikeouts. They remember the home runs. Thomas Edison conducted 1,000 failed experiments before he created the light bulb, meaning every single failed experiment was simply one step closer to success. You will never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. You cannot take your money or your possessions with you. The Egyptians tried it and they just got robbed. It is not about how much you have, it is entirely about what you do with what you have. If you want to get something you have never had, you are going to have to do something you have never done. This is where the magic of the morning begins to bleed into the rest of your existence. What you are doing when you wake up at 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. is creating a ripple effect. A strong, focused morning creates momentum, and that momentum fuels profound progress. When you start your day with intention, stretching, drinking water, and setting your mindset, you take control of the day instead of reacting to it. Consider the simple habit of making your bed first thing in the morning. As Admiral William H. McRaven said, if you want to change the world, start by making your bed. It sounds trivial, but that small act gives you an immediate sense of accomplishment, a small win that encourages you to complete the next task and the next. It is not really about the bed. It is about building discipline and creating a chain reaction of productivity. That momentum carries you. It is the compounding effect of daily habits. Success is never built overnight. It is the result of small, seemingly insignificant actions repeated every single day. Drops of water can eventually carve through solid rock, not because of their strength, but because of their relentless persistence. Imagine if you improve just 1% every day. After a year, you wouldn't just be 365% better, you would be 37 times better because progress builds on itself. But you have to push through the invisible progress phase, just like an ice cube in a cold room. You raise the temperature from 27 degrees to 31 degrees and nothing happens. But at 32 degrees, the ice suddenly melts. The change wasn't instant, it was the result of all the gradual effort before it. You are building a reservoir of discipline, a spirit that simply refuses to be denied. Every time you choose the hard path over the easy one, every time you put down the phone and pick up the book, every time you choose the salad over the donut, you are casting a vote for the new version of yourself. You are proving to your subconscious that you are a champion. But do not be naive. As you start to build this incredible momentum, as you start to separate yourself from the herd, you will encounter a new enemy. An enemy far more dangerous than the warmth of your bed or the grogginess in your eyes. When you start changing, the world around you is going to react, and the sacrifices required to sustain this elevation will demand a piece of your soul. The world will demand a massive piece of your soul the very moment you decide to elevate. You see, when you start waking up with fierce purpose, when you begin guarding your focus and doing the heavy, invisible lifting in the quiet hours of the morning, you inadvertently become a mirror to the people around you. A mirror that glaringly reflects their own lack of effort. And people do not like what they see in that reflection. This journey toward greatness is going to require profound, heartbreaking sacrifice. You simply cannot take your old self into your new future. It is a physical, mental, and spiritual impossibility. You are going to have to sacrifice the old way of thinking, the old way of doing, and the old way of being. You might even have to sacrifice some friends who are entirely too comfortable residing in their own mediocrity. You might have to sacrifice your leisure time, and you will absolutely have to sacrifice your beloved comfort zone. Comfort is the ultimate enemy of the human spirit. If you are comfortable, you are simply not growing. There is a type of pain that just hurts you, and then there is a type of pain that completely changes you. You must actively choose the pain that changes you, deliberately choosing the pain of discipline over the agonizing pain of regret. Because I promise you this absolute truth. The pain of regret weighs tons, but the pain of discipline only weighs ounces. You do not want to reach the twilight of your life, draw your final breaths, and look back only to see a massive, devastating graveyard of buried potential. But the moment you step out into the daylight with this new armor, the world is going to try its hardest to convince you that you are small, that you are hopelessly behind, and that everyone else has it completely figured out except for you. This is the devastating, silent trap of comparison, and it is the absolute quickest way to unbuild everything you just spent your sacred morning building. There is an old, profound fable about a crow who was weeping bitterly because he wasn't a swan. And the swan was desperately unhappy because he wasn't a parrot, while the parrot was utterly miserable because he wasn't a peacock. They were all trapped in a vicious, suffocating cycle of misery, completely blind to their own immense value and freedom because they were entirely obsessed with looking at someone else's feathers. When you open your phone in the morning and look at others on that screen, you are unfairly judging your own raw, unedited, behind-the-scenes footage against their carefully curated, flawless highlight reel. It is a rigged game, and it is a game you cannot ever win. You cannot build a legendary, enduring life if you are constantly looking sideways to see what the next person is doing. You have to put your blinders on, stay in your own lane, and fiercely run your own race. Your only real competition, the only person you are truly up against, is the person looking back at you in the mirror. That is the only person you need to be better than today. Give yourself the credit, give yourself the command, and stop waiting for the world's permission to be great. You must understand that as you run this solitary race, you will inevitably enter what is known as the Valley of Despair. This is the exact treacherous place where most average people quit. They work hard for one single week. They don't instantly see the $1 million in their bank account. They don't instantly see the six-pack abs in the mirror, and they completely give up on themselves. But you have to know better than that. You have to understand the profound, humbling lesson of the Chinese bamboo tree. That specific tree grows entirely underground for 5 excruciatingly long years before it ever breaks the surface of the soil. For 5 whole years, it looks to the outside world like absolutely nothing is happening. But underneath the dirt, in the total dark, it is relentlessly growing roots, building a foundation so incredibly deep and wide that when it finally rises, it will tower majestically over the entire landscape. You are growing those unseen roots right now. Consistency is the master key to this entire game. Intensity might be splashy, loud, and exciting, but consistency is absolutely lethal. Water cuts through solid, unyielding rock, not because of its overwhelming strength, but strictly because of its relentless persistence. You do not need to be perfect, you just need to be completely relentless. If you fall, you get right back up. If you miss a day, you do not spiral into a dark, paralyzing pit of shame. You get back on the path immediately. You must learn to treat your failure not as a final destination, but simply as necessary data. You learn something vital from it, you apply that painful lesson, and you keep moving forward without hesitation. Do not ever let the destructive, all or nothing mindset steal your destiny. People make the tragic mistake of thinking that if they mess up just once, they have completely failed. They eat one unhealthy meal and arrogantly tell themselves that they have ruined their diet, so they might as well eat junk the rest of the week. That is a mental trap designed to keep you average. Missing one day of your morning routine does not ruin your progress, but the habit of quitting absolutely will. You have to recognize that success is practically invisible in the very beginning. It is just like an ice cube sitting in a freezing room. You can raise the temperature from 27 degrees to 31 degrees, and seemingly nothing happens. The ice remains completely solid. But the second that room hits 32 degrees, the ice suddenly begins to melt. That dramatic change was not instant. It was the delayed result of all the gradual, unseen temperature increases that came before it. Success works the exact same way. You have to push blindly through the invisible progress phase until the massive breakthrough finally happens. The compounding effect of small, positive choices is what transforms ordinary people into legends. But as you rise, as you build this relentless, rock-solid discipline, you must remember the higher spiritual purpose behind all of this suffering and striving. You cannot just aspire to make a living in this world. You must aspire to make a real, tangible difference. Everything you think you have achieved, everything you think you are, is ultimately a gift. When I was young and starting to really make it as an actor, I went back to my mother, completely full of myself. I proudly told her that I was going to be so big that I would personally take care of everybody, bragging endlessly about all the things I could do. She stopped me right in my arrogant tracks and said, "Boy, stop it right there. If you only knew how many people had been praying for you, how many prayer groups she put together, how many prayer cloths she gave me, how many times she splashed me with holy water." She looked at me with a stern, loving eye and said, "Oh, you think you did it by yourself? I tell you what you can do by yourself. You can go outside, get a mop and bucket, and wash those windows. You can do that by yourself, superstar." That instantly broke me down to reality. Everything I have is strictly by the grace of God, and whatever unique talents you possess, whether you are meant to be a doctor, a brilliant lawyer, a groundbreaking scientist, a dedicated educator, or a compassionate nurse, it is what you do with what you have that truly matters. That deep, burning desire in your heart, that undeniable itch you have to help others and to truly grow, that specific desire is God's absolute proof to you, sent beforehand to confidently indicate that it is already yours. So claim it, work relentlessly hard in the dark to get it, and when you finally reach the top of that mountain, you must reach back down and pull someone else up. Your life will never, ever be a perfectly straight, predictable path. You will face rejection that shakes you to your core, but remember that discipline is vastly more powerful than raw talent. You might fail your exams, you might be rejected from your dream school 10 times, you might even fail to get a basic job. But if you wake up at 5 a.m. while the competition is resting, you are building an undeniable advantage. I remember exactly where I was on March 27th, 1975. I was merely 20 years old. I had completely flunked out of school, and I was at the absolute lowest point of my entire life. I was sitting in my mother's beauty shop up in Mount Vernon, and there was an older woman sitting under a hairdryer, just staring intently at me through the mirror. She kept giving me these strange, piercing looks. Finally, she took the dryer off her head and said something that changed the entire trajectory of my existence. She said, "Young boy, I have a spiritual prophecy. You are going to travel the world and speak to millions of people." At 20 years old, feeling like a total failure, I thought she was crazy. I arrogantly wondered if her crystal ball said anything about me simply getting back into school the next fall. But she saw something profoundly real in the unseen. And just as that incredible woman prophesied, I have traveled the globe and spoken to millions through my art. You have a massive prophecy written over your life too, but you will never fulfill it if you stay huddled in the cowardly safety of your warm blankets. You have to be open to life, to boldly accept new views, and to take massive, terrifying risks, because the defining chances you take and the unshakable faith that you hold are exactly what will construct your legacy. You have to fiercely realize that the most selfish thing you can ever do in this world is actually to help someone else. Why is it uniquely selfish? Because the incredible gratification, the overwhelming joy and good feeling that floods back to you when you lift another human being up out of the mud, there is absolutely nothing better than that. It is not the shiny jewelry, it is not the massive houses, it is not the fleet of expensive cars. The true, lasting success and the pure joy are found entirely in serving and helping others. But to be in a position of power to help anyone else, you must first do the grueling, unglamorous work on yourself when no one is watching. You have to work while you wait. That is arguably the hardest, most agonizing part of the human experience. You are working, you are sweating, you are sacrificing everything, and you do not see the money or the recognition yet. But you absolutely cannot stop, because if you stop working, when the grand opportunity finally knocks loudly on your door, you will simply not be ready to answer it. Do not ever confuse mere physical movement with actual forward progress. As my mother wisely used to tell me, you can aggressively run in place all day long and never actually get anywhere. You have to make sure your early morning momentum is laser aimed at a target that actually matters. The clock is relentlessly ticking and the sand is falling rapidly through the fragile hourglass of your life. You do not have the luxury to waste even one more precious morning. You do not have the time to be uninspired. You do not have the time to be chronically tired, and you certainly do not have the time to live out someone else's script. Life is not easy. It never was easy, and it never will be easy. But you are beautifully, deliberately, and powerfully built for this exact struggle. You are so much stronger than you think you are, and you are vastly more powerful than you even know. Look deeply at your own track record. You have successfully survived 100% of your bad days. You are still standing here, and you are still breathing, which fundamentally means you still have a profound, unfinished purpose left to fulfill. So I am leaving you with this ultimate, unavoidable challenge. What are you going to do when that sun inevitably comes up tomorrow? Are you going to hit snooze, roll over, and drift mindlessly through another 24 hours, letting your God-given potential rot in the stagnant soil of your comfort zone? Or are you going to aggressively rise like a warrior, fully preparing for the greatest, most important battle of their life? Set your alarm for tomorrow morning, not next week, not next month, tomorrow. Commit to waking up early and using that sacred, silent time to ruthlessly improve your mind, your body, and your spirit. The legendary life you so desperately want, the phenomenal person you are dying to become. It all starts with the single split-second decision you make when that alarm shatters the morning silence. Do not let your future self down. Get up, get moving, and get after it with everything you have. Win the morning, and you will undoubtedly win the day. Would you like me to help you design a personalized 5 a.m. protocol to ensure you completely conquer tomorrow morning?